Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari Gaura 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 Hari Gaura 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 Hari Jaya Sachinandana Gaura Hari Jaya Sachinanda Jaya Gaura Hari Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Asatara Sata Sriman ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Prabhupada Om Vishnupad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakha Hosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shamakunda Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Brajamumi Namanam Ki Jai Shri Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Lachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Ekachakra Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shmati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Your most beautiful Lordship Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai Shri Shri Gauritai Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai ISKCON New York Yatra Ki Jai Brihad Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. So, dear devotees, you're all Nityananda Bhaktas, that's why you're here, to celebrate his divine appearance. We're going to try to say a few words about Lord Nityananda. We could speak on and on and on for hours, but we're still on a regular schedule today, more or less. So we will start by reading something from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The 5th chapter of the Adi Leela is dedicated by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to glorifying Lord Nityananda. So we'll start there. Then we will say a few words about his actual appearance. And then we will hear from Lord Nityananda himself, from a conversation between himself and Lord Chaitanya. And then, time permitting, we'll chant the Nityananda Ashtakam by Sri Lochandas Thakur. So, as I've said many times, I like to hold a mic because as a speaker, if you hold a mic or if you wear a headset, then wherever you turn, the volume doesn't fall off. If you keep the mic here and then you turn this way and then you turn that way, then especially people online, they can't hear you. So that's why I do this. So let us go to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is chapter 5, the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. So we'll just read the chapter summary, and there's enough nectar there. This chapter is chiefly devoted to describing the essential nature and glories of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Lord Sri Krishna is the absolute personality of Godhead, and his first expansion in a form for pastimes is Sri Balaram. Beyond the limitation of this material world is the spiritual sky, Paravyoma, which has many spiritual planets, the supreme of which is called Krishna Loka. Krishna Loka, the abode of Krishna, has 3 divisions, which are known as Dwarka, Mathura, and Gokula. In that abode, the personality of Godhead expands himself into 4 plenary portions: Krishna, Balaram, Pradyumna, the transcendental Cupid, and Aniruddha. They are known as the original quadruple forms. In Krishna Loka is a transcendental place known as Shvetadvipa, or Vrindavan. Below Krishna Loka in the spiritual sky are the Vaikuntha planets. On each Vaikuntha planet, a 4-handed Narayana, expanded from the first quadruple manifestation, is present. The personality of Godhead, known as Sri Balarama, in Krishna Loka is the original Sankarsana, attracting deity. And from this Sankarshan expands another Sankarshan, called Mahasankarshan, who resides in one of the Vaikuntha planets. By his internal potency, Mahasankarsana maintains the transcendental existence of all the planets in the spiritual sky, where all the living beings are eternally liberated souls. The influence of the material energy is conspicuous there by its absence. On those planets, the second quadruple manifestation is present. Outside of the Vaikuntha planets is the impersonal manifestation of Sri Krishna, which is known as Brahmaloka. On the other side of Brahmaloka is the spiritual Karna Samudra, or causal ocean. The material energy exists on the other side of the causal ocean without touching it. In the causal ocean is Mahavishnu, the original Purusha expansion from Sankarsana. Mahavishnu places his glance over the material energy, and by a reflection of his transcendental body, he amalgamates himself within the material elements. As the source of the material elements, the material energy is known as Pradhana. And as the source of the manifestations of the material energy, it is known as Maya. But material nature is inert in that she has no independent power to do anything. She is empowered to make the cosmic manifestation by the glance of Mahavishnu. Therefore, the material energy is not the original cause of the material manifestation. Rather, the transcendental glance of Mahavishnu over material nature produces that cosmic manifestation. So this is very important, especially for those of you who are still students and you're being bombarded with this incorrect assumption that the material energy is all in all. They don't see the glance of Mahavishnu. They don't see the Supreme Lord's supremacy over everything. And therefore, we're reminded that the Ishavasya principle, Ishavasya sarvam yakkincha jagati tena chaktena bhujata magrada kasasunam. Everything animate and inanimate is controlled and owned by the Lord. Notice those two features, controlled and owned by the Lord. So as devotees, as we move around in the world, we should be always conscious of that. Every place we go belongs to Krishna. People are fighting over this line, that line, this is Pakistan, this is India, like that. Everywhere you go, this is this country, that country. But those lines are artificial. The whole planet, nay, the whole universe belongs to Krishna. Controlled and owned. Prabhupada used to say, if you don't control something, then you can't claim to own it. If you don't control it, you can't claim to own it. So controllership is very important. Of course, we're always fighting for control. We want to control, I want to control you, you want to control me, I want to control your half of the block, you want to control my half of the block, like that. And this is the problem, because they don't see the overall controllership of the Supreme Lord, therefore this fighting goes on. As soon as everybody admits and acknowledges that everything animate and inanimate, not just inanimate, not just at the table and the building and the city, but the people. So when you approach someone, you approach them in the mood of that they belong to Krishna, they're Krishna's eternal servant. And we're simply there to remind them of that fact. We're not trying to use them in any way, which is what happens on the material platform. In every relationship, we say sometimes that the purest relationship is that of mother and child. Not father, mother and child. But even that relationship is contaminated by this material desire. The mother is thinking that my son is going to grow up to be a big guy, is going to be either, president of the country or is going to be leader of some corporation. She's always thinking like that. No matter how much love she has for the child, she's always injecting some material desire there. And vice versa. The children nowadays, they have the phenomenon of the live-at-home sons. They don't want to move out because it's too expensive. So they stay with mommy and daddy forever, take advantage of them. The parents want them to go so they can go travel around the world if they have money, or at least not have the botheration of having to deal with the kids anymore. So everybody's trying to use everybody else in the material platform. But when we establish within our minds, within our hearts, that everything animate and inanimate is controlled and owned by Krishna, then that tendency goes down. Okay, continuing. Mahavishnu again enters every universe as the reservoir of all living entities, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. From Garbhodakashaya Vishnu expands Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, the super soul of every living entity. Garbhodakashaya Vishnu also has his own Vaikuntha planet in every universe, where he lives as a super soul or a supreme controller of the universe. Again, controller, we have to always remind ourselves of that. So no need to fight over controlling anything. Everything is already controlled by the Lord. Garbhodakashaya Vishnu reclines in the midst of the watery portion of the universe and generates the first living creature of the universe, Brahma. The imaginary universal form is a partial manifestation of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. On the Vaikuntha planet in every universe is an ocean of milk. Who would like to go swimming in an ocean of milk? Especially if it's properly spiced the way devotees do here. On the Vaikuntha planet in every universe is an ocean of milk, and within that ocean is an island called Shvetadvipa, where Lord Vishnu lives. Therefore, this chapter describes two Shvetadvipas, one in the abode of Krishna and the other in the ocean of milk in every universe. The Shvetadvipa in the abode of Krishna is identical with Vrindavan Dham, which is a place where Krishna appears himself to display his loving pastimes. In the Shvetadvipa, within every universe, is a Shesha form of Godhead who serves Vishnu by assuming the form of his umbrella, slippers, couch, pillows, garments, residence, sacred thread, throne, and so on. Lord Baladev in Krishna Loka is Nityananda Prabhu. Therefore, Nityananda Prabhu is the original Sankarshan and Mahasankarshan, and his expansions as the Purushas in the universes are plenary expansions of Nityananda Prabhu. In this chapter, the author has described the history of his leaving home for a personal pilgrimage to Vrindavan and his achieving all success there. In this description, it is revealed that the author's original paternal home and birthplace were in the district of Katwa, in the village of Jamatapura, which is near Naihati. Krishnadas Kaviraja's brother invited Sri Minaketana Ramadas, a great devotee of Lord Nityananda, to his home, but a priest named Gunarnava Mishra did not receive him well, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother, not recognizing the glories of Lord Nityananda, also took sides with the priest. Therefore, Ramadas became sorry, broke his flute, and went away. This was a great disaster for the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. But on that very night, Lord Nityananda Prabhu himself graced Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in a dream and ordered him to leave on the next day for Vrindavan. Shri Nityananda Ram Ki Jai. So the very name, the meaning of Lord Nityananda's name, everybody should know. Nitya means eternal, constant, never stopping. And Ananda means bliss, or in English we would say joy. But that doesn't really give the depth of understanding, just to say joy. Because joy on the material platform comes and goes. We're living in an ocean of threefold miseries. Adhyatmic, adhidaivic, and adibhotic kleshas. Miseries caused by our own bodies and minds. Anybody here can say their body or mind never gives them trouble? Now there's a phenomenon that they're studying psychologically. Psychologists are studying that people get locked in a thought pattern that just keeps revolving and they can't get out of it. They just keep thinking the same thing over and over again, and it causes them distress. So psychologists are scrambling, how do we prevent this or get people out of it when they're locked into that? So there's nothing wrong with being locked in a particular thought if it's positive. We want to be locked in today, especially in the pattern of thinking of Lord Nityananda. So Nitya, eternal, Ananda, bliss. If we want to be happy, and no sane person wants to be unhappy. Everybody wants, you have to be insane to want to be unhappy or be satisfied being unhappy. We want to be happy all the time. This is, somebody's at the door. This is our birthright. And therefore, we become upset when we can't be happy, in spite of our trying so hard. Nowadays, everybody thinks just by earning money. But as we know, the saying, which is actually very true, money cannot buy happiness. The rich people know that it's true because they have money and they're still not happy. And the poor people hope it's true because they're envious. So we don't want to fall into that trap of thinking that money is going to make us happy, or become too enamored or influenced by others' money. Sometimes that happens. When in our neophyte platform, when we're preaching, we will ultimately or inevitably come across people who are wealthy. And the neophyte preachers, sometimes they become distracted by that. Oh, this guy drives a Rolls Royce. Oh, he lives in a $10 million apartment. Or whatever. We don't care. We know that $10 million apartment belongs to Krishna. That Rolls Royce belongs to Krishna. And our business is to try to influence people to use their God-given wealth in God's service. That will make them happy, and we will be very happy. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Right? Isn't it, Lokik? If you see a wealthy guy, you preach to him, you give him a Bhagavad Gita, and then later on he starts coming to your preaching center and joins up, shaves up. Oh, Hari Bol! Or sometimes Prabhupada wouldn't allow them to shave up, like George Harrison. At one point, he wanted to move in the ashram. He was genuinely attracted to Prabhupada. He wanted to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada said, no, you'll be more effective doing what you're doing. Prabhupada, tree-color guy, he could see. So he did. He stayed outside and made music and made a lot of money. And he actually made the payment on it was a rental, the very place, the very first temple they had in London, which we have now reacquired You can see online that original London temple where London Ishwar was installed, that temple we have now. Now the temple is on Soho Street. But how many of you have been there? Soho Street Temple, put your hand up. Yeah. Very, very nice temple, and they have a restaurant on the main floor. Very busy part of London. But then later on, George again bought what's now the Manor, Bhaktivedanta Manor. It had been a convent, and so he bought. So Prabhupada knew if he stays outside and continues to do what he's doing. But in general, Krishna consciousness is not just meant for the masses. Prabhupada said once, Satsuru Maharaj wrote to him saying that he was preaching in the colleges and preparing lectures. And two things Prabhupada said in relation to that. Nice that you're preparing, but you should be ready to speak this philosophy on a moment's notice. Sometimes we get put on the spot like that. Speaker doesn't show up, and if you have to sit down and speak, you should be ready. Prabhupada said in another place that it's not that I can only preach when the book is in front of me. No, you should know this philosophy so well that you can preach at a moment's notice without any book. You should know Bhagavad Gita so well, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's not that we have to have the book in front of us. And the other thing Prabhupada said in his reply to Satsuru Maharaj was that I'm very pleased that you're preaching to the student class, he said, because if we go on expanding unlimitedly amongst the common people, everything will fall apart. He said our future leaders will come from the student class. So Prabhupada showed the example of being able to preach. There are two levels of preaching, to mass and to class. So we have to be able to do both. Not that everybody will have that acumen, but at least some of us have to be able to preach to class, people who have money and education and position in society. Actually, this philosophy is primarily meant for them. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. This Bhagavad Gita and all the Vedic literature meant primarily for those people who are educated and have responsible positions in society. So we have to be able to preach to them. And we're not preaching anything different. We're giving them the same Bhagavad Gita. It's just that you have to be, first of all, not be enamored by their position and their possessions. Because if you're in awe of, this person's such a big person, then what are you going to give them? You already think that they don't need anything because they're so wealthy or so powerful or whatever. No. But again, if we understand that everything belongs to Krishna, including them, they're Krishna's eternal servant, and we're there to Jeev Jago, wake them up. So Nityananda, he was in the mood of a preacher. He appeared, it's stated in the year 1474, in the village of ISKCON, which is in West Bengal. His father was Hadai Oja, and his mother was Padmavati. They were both originally from Mithila, high-class Brahmanas. So Lord Nityananda appeared in that family. He was known in his early years as Nitai. And he stayed in ISKCON for 12 years. And during that time, he was well known amongst the villagers for organizing and doing dramas on Krishna Lila and Ram Lila. And he would do it stated so forcefully and so with such concentration that the villagers, anybody who witnessed these dramas organized by Nitai, they would just merge in the ocean of love of Godhead. Of course, he's God himself, so not surprising there. But he was setting the example that childhood is not meant for just play. Like Prabhupada himself said, he was given Radha Krishna deities, and he and his sister used to worship them. So, Prahlad Maharaj, one of the most famous boy preachers, says, Komar Acharayat Pragyo Dharmam Bhagavatamiha. That starting at Komar, from 5 years, from birth to 5, okay, they can play whatever, although it still should be within the confines of the family worship. If the family is worshiping the deities, chanting Hare Krishna, hearing Bhagavad Gita, then the children, even as young as 2, 3, 4, they can participate. And Some children, even before age 5, they can read. That was my case. My mother was a school teacher, and by the age of 4, I was reading and understanding, reading and comprehending, not just repeating what's on the page. So children are, as Prabhupada said, they're our future, and we shouldn't be confused. He wrote to one Mataji in Los Angeles that child worship is the same as Narayan worship. Because she was confused about her duty. So Prabhupada said, no, your first duty is to take care of the children. However, he also stated it's not that every mother stays home with their own child. He said, no, preaching should still go on. 2 or 3 mothers stay back and take care of all the children, and the others can go out and preach. Not that, oh, I have a child, so I can't do anything anymore. I have to stay home all day and take care of him. Prabhupada was not in that mood at all. What to speak of it. So the parents have to have that mentality that preaching has to go on. Not that I have one child at home and then that wrecks my whole. No, you can still take time during the day, do some temple service, go out and Harinam, do some preaching like that. So Nityananda, during his 13th year, one traveling sannyasi, it's said that it's Lakshmipati Tirtha, came to the village and asked the parents, Hadai and Padmavati, to give their son to travel with him as a traveling companion. Now, being proper followers of Vedic culture, they agreed. But they were devastated. Obviously, you have Nitai as your son, and he's taken away by some sannyasi. So the father passed away shortly thereafter. He couldn't bear the separation from Nitai. So Nitai traveled with Lakshmipati Tirtha for 20 years. So he left home at 12, before his 13th birthday, and traveled for 20 years. So when he met Lord Chaitanya, he was 32 and Lord Chaitanya was 20 years old. And you can read about that meeting. It's an ecstatic meeting of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. But I wanted to next, because now we've heard about Lord Nityananda. Now we want to hear something from Lord Nityananda. So this is a conversation between Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya just before Lord Chaitanya left for his tour of South India. So let's call that up. So this is Madhya Leela, chapter 7. Tabe Nityananda kahe yeha yatamar, dukka sukha yeha ho kartavya amar. Translation. Thereupon, Lord Nityananda said, quote, whatever you order is my duty, regardless of whether it results in happiness or unhappiness. End of quote. So this is Lord Chaitanya. He's Guru. Prabhupada said he's the original Guru. So he's always setting the example, teaching by example, Acharya. So he's teaching us here that whatever order we get from the superior, from the Guru, we should execute it whether or not we are calculating it's going to make us unhappy or happy. That calculation should be thrown away. You take the order of the spiritual master and you execute it. No personal consideration that, oh, Guru Maharaj, you're sending me to Timbuktu. I don't think I'm going to be happy there. We have the famous conversation between Harikesh Prabhu, now formerly sannyasi, and Srila Prabhupada, where he was Prabhupada's secretary and traveling with Prabhupada. So Prabhupada said one day, I want you to go and preach in Europe. I want you to go and preach in the communist countries. And he was saying, but Prabhupada, I don't want to go. Prabhupada, no, you must go. But Prabhupada, I won't have any association. Prabhupada said, damn your association. But Prabhupada, I won't have anything to eat. Eat meat if you have to. Of course, he didn't want him to eat meat. He just was driving home the point of how serious this order was. So finally, Harikesh relented and he went, and we know it was successful because that was Prabhupada's desire. So he was preaching behind the Iron Curtain. Russia had not, the USSR had not fallen apart, so it was still risky to go there. So he and other devotees, they were preaching there. And he wrote to Prabhupada one famous letter that he was in Yugoslavia at the time and hadn't broken up. Former Yugoslavia is now 6 countries. I have been to all of them except for Macedonia. But Just to give you context, the former Yugoslavia is about the size of the state of California. So imagine if California broke up into 6 different countries. So that's what happened. But anyway, he was preaching in Yugoslavia, and he wrote to Prabhupada, he said, we're holding festivals, and people are coming, and thousands of people are coming, and we are distributing prasadam and books. So they leave with their bellies full, and their wallets empty, and their hands full of books. So Prabhupada is very, very pleased. So this is what happens in this mood. Whatever you order is my duty. We should take that seriously. It's a surrendering process. Sometimes we forget that. We think it's a process of whatever I feel like doing. But that's not. Bhakti yoga means surrendering. That's why you have to be extremely careful where you surrender. Don't go to surrender somewhere where you're not going to follow the instructions. So at the prospective disciples, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta used to say, should study the prospective guru for at least 6 months. And vice versa. The prospective guru should study the prospective disciples for at least 6 months. Now in ISKCON, sometimes it goes much longer than that. Like we have our Bhakti Nityananda, she's been waiting 7 years for initiation from Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that long, but there should be some consideration because you're going to surrender and accept whatever this guru, the spiritual master, says. So be very careful where you go to surrender. Whatever you order is my duty, regardless of whether it results in happiness or unhappiness. This is the mood of a real disciple. Here is Nityananda, God himself, but he's accepted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his Acharya, his guru. Kintu eka nevadana karanara bhar vichara kariyataha kara angikara. Yet, I still submit one petition to you. Please consider it, and if you think it proper, please accept it. Kopina bhairvasa ara jalapatra ara kichunai yabe sabe e matra. You must take with you a loincloth, external clothes, and a water pot. You should take nothing more than this. So again, the setting is Lord Chaitanya is getting ready to go to South India. Devotees wanted to go with him, but he's telling them, no, I don't want you to come. Tomar dui hastabada nama ganane jalapatra bhairvasa bhai bekemane. Since your 2 hands will always be engaged in chanting and counting the holy names, how will you be able to carry the water pot and external garments? So Nityananda is making an argument of why he should go with Lord Chaitanya. Now this purport is extremely important. That's why I selected this section. Srila Prabhupada says, from this verse it is clear that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting the holy names a fixed number of times daily. The Goswamis used to follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Haridas Thakur also followed this principle. Concerning the Goswamis, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami, Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Srinivasa Acharya confirms Sankhya Purva Nama Gana Natibi. Sad Goswami's Ashtika, number 6. In addition to other duties, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced a system of chanting the holy name of the Lord a fixed number of times daily, as confirmed in this verse. Tomar dui hasta bada nama ganane. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to count on his fingers. While one hand was engaged in chanting, the other hand kept the number of rounds. This is corroborated in the Chaitanya Chandramrita and also in Srila Rupa Goswami's Savamala. Padnan prema bhara prakampita karo grantin kati dorakai sankyatum nija loka mangala hare krishneti nam japan. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then from Pratam Chaitanyastika, Hare krishneti uchai spurita rasano nama ganana kritta granti shreni subhaga kati sutrojvalakara. Prabhupada continues, therefore devotees in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must chant at least 16 rounds daily. And this is the number prescribed by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, meaning prescribed by him. Srila Prabhupada is the International Society. He said that. ISKCON is my body. Don't ever leave. So people have left and they formed their own societies and they've reduced that minimum to 4. But that's not what Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said, in our society, ISKCON, you must chant a minimum of 16 rounds every day. Haridas Thakur daily chanted 300,000 names. 16 rounds is about 28,000 names. There is no need to imitate Haridas Thakur or the other Goswamis, but chanting the holy name a fixed number of times daily is essential for every devotee. There's no wiggle room, no getting around it. You want to be a devotee in Srila Prabhupada's line, Srila Prabhupada's movement, then you have to follow this. We must chant 16 rounds minimum every day. And therefore, we're made to promise that when we get initiated. We have to take that promise in front of the deities, in front of the fire, in front of the other Vaishnavas, that I will chant 16 rounds minimum every day and follow the 4 regular principles. Now, there were some exceptions. Sometimes, I don't know if any of you have met my godbrother Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu, very interesting case. His mother was a very famous, very potent journalist. Back in the days when newspapers were the thing. This is before the internet became a thing. This is like early 70s. So when her son joined ISKCON in Los Angeles, she threatened that if my son doesn't come home, I'm going to destroy you journalistically. And she had the power to do that. So when it became known to Srila Prabhupada called him. He was not yet initiated. He called him to his room and said, you should go home at least for some time. Your mother is making this threat. We should take it seriously. You should go home for some time at least. So he objected with Prabhupada, I'm not even initiated yet. Right there on the spot. How many of you have been to LA Temple? So you've been to Prabhupada's quarters, upstairs. So right in his room upstairs, Prabhupada immediately initiated him. His original name was David Shapiro. But Prabhupada gave him the name on the spot, Nityananda. Das, now go home. So he did. He went home. And after some time, I guess, mother and son, they reconciled and he was able to come back. And he was still a devotee, still very strong. So this is Lord Nityananda's recommendation. And then now I'm going to do one other section in Bhubaneswar in 1977, February 77. Prabhupada gave a lecture on this day, Nityananda Trayodashi. Yes. How many of you have been to Bhubaneswar? Yeah. I've been there. Nice temple, community. And it's just a short drive to Jagannath Puri. So actually I was coming from Cuttack, stopped in Bhubaneswar for a few days and then went on to Puri. So, it's a little bit lengthy, but it's very, very instructive, this lecture. I'm just going to read a portion. Prabhupada says, so when you become actually a preacher of God consciousness, you cannot make any compromise. You must call a spade a spade. Just like Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is one of the Mahajans. Out of 12 Mahajans, he's one of them because he was very bold. He was not afraid of his demonic father. He chastised him in so many ways, the father, but he was never afraid. So just like our people are being persecuted in Australia, you know, they have been put into jail because they are preaching Hare Krishna. By the time you joined, that was over, right? Yeah? Okay. So this is not a very easy thing, easy going. My Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, he did not like that his disciples would be easygoing, cheap Vaishnava. Cheap Vaishnava, Manatumi Kishara Vaishnava. He sang a song, quote, my dear mind, oh, you are going to be a Vaishnava. And what kind of Vaishnava you are? Manatumi Kishara Vaishnava. Pratishtara Tare Nir Janera Gare Taba Harinama Kevala Kaitav. Quote, you are chanting Hare Krishna, imitating Haridas Thakur or Rupa Goswami in a solitary place. Not solitary place. You're thinking of women and money, that's all. Mind is filled with dirty things. So this kind of bhajan is simply cheating. He was after preaching. First of all, go door to door, just like Nityananda Prabhu did at the risk of his life. He was hurt by Jagai Madai. Blood came out of his head. Lord Chaitanya became very much angry. He wanted to kill immediately Jagai Madai. Lord Nityananda said, quote, my dear sir, I like the way the Prabhupada says, sir, not my lord. My dear sir, you promised that this incarnation you'll not take any weapon. Please be kind upon them. So this is another instruction from Nityananda. Sometimes we run into difficult situations, but understanding that these people are just ignorant of their original position as servants of Krishna, we try not to become angry with them. It doesn't mean you don't protect yourself. Prabhupada said once in New York in 1975, I was there, he said that he was speaking to the managers especially. You're not taking protection seriously. You're not taking protection of the deities and the devotees seriously. He said some of your men have to be trained how to protect the deities and the devotees. And he said protection means learning how to use guns and sticks. So again, it doesn't mean you can't protect yourself, that people should come and push you around. No. There has to be at least some segment of our society that are trained protectors, how to protect the devotees. Continuing. So this is Nityananda. Nityananda Vangsha means one who takes the risk of preaching work. He can claim Nityananda Vangsha. Not that easygoing. The preaching work is not easygoing. There are so many difficulties. All the big preachers, Sri Ramanujacharya, his life was attempted to be killed. Why Ramanujacharya? My Guru Maharaj was attempted to be killed. 25,000 rupees were raised fund for bribing the police officer. He told me personally. The Navadip Gosais, they wanted to kill him. Just see. They call themselves preachers and priests, but they were so envious of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati because he was Singha Guru. And like Prabhupada said in the beginning, no compromise. So they disliked him. They wanted to kill him. Continuing. So preaching work is always risky. Tat sadhu manye surabharya dehinam. So Krishna samprashnaha. If you want to make the whole world peaceful, yenatma suprasidati. Prasidati means to become satisfied, and su means super, extra satisfied. Then people should be educated to inquire about Krishna. That's all. Simply, this very word, Yat Kritak Krishna Samprashna. Make such propaganda in a way that everyone becomes inquisitive. What is this nonsense Krishna they are speaking? At least. Just like Jagai Madai, when in the beginning, they were very much adverse to Sankirtan. This is a lecture, so that's why it's kind of colloquial in places. In the beginning, they were very much adverse to Sankirtan, Hari Sankirtan. But one day, the Madai was telling to Jagai, quote, my dear brother Jagai, after all, these rascals sing very nicely. Hare Krishna. They sing very... Oh, you're going to be Vaishnava? No, I am not going to be Vaishnava. I'm just appreciating. They sing very nice. So that's Harinam. Harinam is we're meant to go out there and chant so nicely that they are attracted. In spite of their sinful mentality, they're attracted. Or even if they're not attracted, as I've said many times, you see it sometimes in Harinam, you go out and people are covering their ears. By the time they do that, it's too late. The mantra already went in. So, they will arrest you. You have got good experience. In London, they were arrested. Then he turns to Gurudas. He says, you were in London. How many times you were arrested? Gurudas, 3. I personally got arrested distributing books in New Jersey when I was a brahmachari here on Henry Street. My main service was BBT. I didn't go out too many times. But they dropped me on one big intersection in Jersey City. So we were going car to car, distributing and collecting. And then police came up, they grabbed me. So anyway, Prabhupada said 3 times. Our record is that our people were arrested 36 times. Now the police have become disgusted. They don't arrest. Yes, but this thing is going on in Australia, especially in Melbourne. I have received, so they asked me what to do. Chant Hare Krishna, and you'll get good opportunity. When you're put into jail, you'll be free to chant Hare Krishna. So they're doing that. They are not eating. The minister in charge of the jail department, he was perturbed that these people are not eating. And they were allowed to that, you can cook, but they refused because the same kitchen they're cooking, flesh. So refuse. So then after a few days, they were let loose. All right, go home. Yes, this is going on. So again, no compromise. So religious persecution is always there. Even the father, what to speak of others, the father Hiranyakashipu, he chastised his son. So don't be afraid. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Yarideka Tarekaha Krishna Upadesh. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this is the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyone you meet, any damn rascal or gentleman, it doesn't matter. Try to convince him about Krishna and let him inquire about Krishna. Then his life will be successful. Simply he begins to inquire, what is Krishna? Then his his path of liberation becomes open immediately. So Lord Nityananda, again, although he's Balaram, he was in this mood of a preacher. After the conversation with Lord Chaitanya said, no, I don't want you to come with me to South India. Go to Bengal and preach. So that's what he was doing, and that's how he ran into this Jagai Madai. He and Haridas Thakur, they were going door to door every day asking, please chant Hare Krishna. Please chant the holy names of Krishna. And as Prabhupada said, being a preacher is not easy going. Now we have so many preachers being trained, and it's not easy going. You give up your comfortable life at home, you live in an ashram. It's not as bad as it was when we joined in 73. Hansarupa came a little later, but we were in 73 in Henry Street, not far from here. You can go and see that place. We were literally sleeping like sardines. 100 brahmacharis in a room. You just had enough space to put down your sleeping bag. Just like that. So things have gotten a little more easygoing, but still, any one of you could be living in a comfortable situation. So you've sacrificed that to follow in the footsteps of great preachers like Srila Prabhupada, like Prahlad Maharaj, like Nityananda Prabhu, who is everybody's Prabhu, everybody's master. So he set the example of preaching. Preaching is the most important thing. Go out and preach. Prabhupada said, door to door, no easygoing life. That's not... Why? Why would you join ISKCON again for an easygoing life? It's not. Living in a temple, having to get up early every day and go to Mangalarti and follow the schedule and go out and preach. It's not easy. So if you accept that voluntarily, and everybody here is here voluntarily, nobody came to your home and said, hey, be a devotee or else. No, everybody came voluntarily. So if we voluntarily come to ISKCON, then we should follow the mood. Srila Prabhupada's mood, we saw, he went through all kinds of terrible conditions to establish ISKCON. We don't have to do that anymore. We have moved into an established community, an established society. We just have to follow. Don't speculate, don't change. Prabhupada is very adamant about that. He said, your American disease is that you always want to change things. Always want to, even when there are no changes, even like when Prabhupada would travel around America, Prabhupada is coming. So even though the temple looks nice, they would go out and buy paint and paint again and spend so much money on flowers to make big, big garlands. The society was not rich in those days. And so Prabhupada became a little disgusted. Stop! Your American disease is you always want to change. You're just wasting money. Something that doesn't need to be painted, you paint again. And you're spending so much money on flowers. We don't need that. We don't have to make a big show. Yes, we want to dress and worship the deities gorgeously, but for our own selves, we don't need to drive around, go out on Harinam in a Rolls Royce, SUV. We don't need that. And so preaching here in New York is so nice. The public transportation system works so nicely. Anywhere practically you want to go, you just jump on the subway. You don't have to have a big, big car and chauffeur. No, we don't need any of that. All right, so I'm going to end by reciting the Sri Nityananda Ashtakam by Nityananda Thakur. Let's see, where did I put that? Here we go. Let's zoom in a little more. Is that big enough? Can everybody see? So the Sri Nityananda Ashtaka, 8 prayers glorifying Lord Nityananda by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Yeah, I said Lochan Das Thakur, and it's Vrindavan Das Thakur. Now, I never heard Srila Prabhupada recite this, but I had the good fortune of, when I joined on Henry Street, Dravida Prabhu was there. Many of you must have met or heard of Dravida. Very, very much into learning and memorizing and reciting a lot of these ashtakas. And we also lived together for quite some time. In San Diego, we lived in a house, myself, Dravida, Jayadvaita Maharaj, and Yamaraj Prabhu, who was the designer and producer of Back to God magazine for many, many years. I don't know if you can follow this. If you go online, YouTube, there's a YouTube channel called Mantra Trance. And there's a devotee from Mayapur. What's his name? I forget now, but he recites very nicely all these ashtakas, very, very paka. So I can't chant that well. I didn't grow up learning Sanskrit, but I will do my best to do the Sanskrit and then the translation. Try to follow the meter that I learned from Dravida Prabhu. Sarachantra Bhantim Spuradamala Kantim Kajagatim Hari Premon Mattam Duttaparama Sattam Smitamukam Sadagurnam Netam Karakalitavetam Kalibhidam Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajana Tarukandam Niravadi. That's the refrain you'll see in every verse. I worship Lord Nityananda, the limitless root of the tree of devotional service. As he walks with the grace of a majestic elephant, his pure, splendid beauty shines like the full autumn moon. Though he himself is the absolute truth, he is maddened with pure love for Lord Hari. He smiles as he rolls his eyes in apparent intoxication. He carries a stick in his hand in the mood of a coward boy, and he breaks the power of the age of Kali. Number 2. Rasana Magaram Swajana Gana Sarvasam Atulam Tadiyeka Prana Pramita Vasudha Janava Patim Sada Premon Madam Paramavidatam Mandamanasam Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajana Tarukandam Niravadi. I worship Lord Nityananda, the limitless root of the tree of devotional service. He is the abode of the mellows of devotional service, and no one can be compared to him. He is the be-all and end-all for his devotees, and the husband of Vasudha and Janava, to whom he is more dear than life itself, because he is always maddened with pure love for Krishna. The foolish non-devotees cannot understand that he is the supreme personality of Godhead himself. Text 3. Shachi shuno preshtam nikila jagadishtam sukamayam kalau majjaj jivo dharana karuno dhamma karunam Hare Akyanadva Bhavajaladi Garvonati Haram Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajana Tarukandam Niravadhi. I worship Lord Nityananda, the limitless root of the tree of devotional service. He is very dear to the son of Shachi Devi and is worshipped by the entire universe. Out of his great mercy, he chants the holy name of Lord Hari, thus rescuing the souls drowning in the age of Kali and crushing the pride of the ocean of repeated birth and death. Text 4. Aye brataninam kalikalushinam kimnu bhavita tata prayaschittam rachaya yad anayasata ime prajanti tvam ittam saha bhagavata mantrayatiyo bhaje nityanandam bhajana tarakandam niravadi. I worship Lord Nityananda, the limitless root of the tree of devotional service. He said to Lord Chaitanya, quote, "Oh brother, the people are all becoming infected by the sins of Kali Yuga. How will they atone for these sins? Please give them a way to easily approach you." Text 5. Yateshtang re prata kurukari kuri hari hari dwanam anisham tato bak sangsaram buddhi taranadayo mayilagate idang bahus potar atati ratayam yak patigriham bhaje nityanandam bhajanatarakandam niravadi. I worship Lord Nityananda, the limitless root of the tree of devotional service. He went to each house in Bengal and, raising his arm, said, "Oh brother, if you will please constantly chant the holy name of Lord Hari, if you do this, you will become free from the ocean of repeated death. Please give me this gift of your liberation." Text 6. Palat sangsaram bonidi harana kumbodo bhavam aho satam sheyak sindunati kumuda bandum samuditam kalasheni spurjit timirahara surya prabham aham bhaje nityanandam bhajanatar kandam niravadi. I worship Lord Nityananda, the limitless root of the tree of devotional service. He is the Agastya Muni who forcibly swallows the ocean of repeated death. He is a rising full moon, friend of the night blooming lotus, who expands the ocean of the saintly devotees' good fortune. He is the blazing sun who extinguishes the darkness of the community of demons. Text 7. Natantang khayantam harimanuvadantang pati pati Bhajantam pashyantam sam apina dayantam janaganam pakurvantam santam sakaranadrig antam pakalanad bhaje nityanandam bhajanatarakandam niravadi. I worship Lord Nityananda, the limitless root of the tree of devotional service. He traveled on every path, dancing, singing the names of Lord Hari, and describing his glories. Without considering his own interests, he was merciful to the people, and he cast upon them his merciful sidelong glance. Text 8. Subibranam bhatakarasarajisijam komalataram mito bhakjaloka paramananda hridayam brahmamantam maduryar aha madayantam purajanan bhaje nityanandam bhajanatarakandam niravadi. I worship Lord Nityananda, the limitless root of the tree of devotional service. He fondly grasped his brother Lord Chaitanya's soft and beautiful lotus hand, and together they wandered here and there, delighting the townspeople with their sweet beauty. They both became filled with bliss when they gazed upon each other's lotus faces. So now as a text 9, you may wonder, it's an ashtakam, that's 8. How do we get 9? This is the Paul Stuti, the benediction verse. Rasanam hararam rasikavarasad vaishnavadanam rasagaram saram patitatati taram smarantaha param nityanandashtakam idang apurvam patatiyaha tat angri dhanvabjam spuratu nitaram tasya hridaye. So here's the benediction. These 8 verses glorifying Lord Nityananda are the abode of the mellows of devotional service, and they're the wealth of the pure devotees, expert at relishing those mellows. All the fallen conditioned souls can get liberation just by remembering them. These verses are very excellent, transcendental, and unprecedented. May the 2 lotus feet of Lord Nityananda appear eternally in the hearts of those who read these verses and remember the Lord. Jai, Lord Nityananda ki jai. Vrindavan Thakur ki jai. If anybody would like to have this, if you don't have it, just let me know. I can send it to you on the group. Or I can place it, you can just download it. So it's 9 o'clock. Time to honor breakfast prasadam. But if anybody has anything they want to add about Lord Nityananda, get the wireless mic and give it to him. Yes, Lokik Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for the class. I had one question. You mentioned about the pastime of Harikesh Prabhu, that how he was given a service, even though he was not ready for it, he was not very willing to take it up. So now we see many a times that people, when they are given a service, rather than they taking up a service, they do not perform that service wholeheartedly, or they are not able to perform that service for a very long time. They get burnt out. They are not able to get their way out when there is some challenges in performing the service and everything. So how do we understand the case of Harikesh Prabhu and nowadays when people are not able to perform their service until and unless they take it up voluntarily?
Good question, because this comes up repeatedly. Now, the guru, understanding the situation, sometimes will insist and sometimes won't. I'll give you an example. One time there was one devotee who was a temple president in New Zealand, but Prabhupada wanted him to go somewhere else. So Prabhupada visited and he said, I would like you to take up responsibility in this other place. But Prabhupada, and then they walked, it was on a walk, and then Prabhupada said, but I would like you to go here. But Prabhupada, he didn't agree. So then after the walk was over, and Prabhupada went back to his quarters, some devotee asked, but Prabhupada, why didn't you order him to do it? And Prabhupada said, because if I ordered him and he didn't do it, it would be a great offense. So sometimes the guru will give you some wiggle room, understanding that you're a rascal. He will give you some wiggle room. Because if the guru orders you to do something and you don't, that's a great offense. Just like we recite every morning. What is the third of the 10? To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. That's one of the 10 offenses against chanting Hare Krishna. So understanding that this particular disciple may not be ready for an order, the guru will suggest and give you some wiggle room. Now, if you're intelligent, if your guru suggests something, do it. And then you become dearer to your spiritual master. But if you're not ready, okay, there's a wiggle room, you can opt out. But in the case of Harikesh, Prabhupada understood that this young man is serious enough and he will take my order and he will succeed. And he did. He took the order. Doesn't mean he was happy. He was very unhappy because he'd been used to traveling with Prabhupada and serving Prabhupada directly. And now you throw him in, not just throw him out, but into a dangerous situation. If you read the history of devotees preaching behind the Iron Curtain, it was not easy. It's not easy. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj went, and he recounts how he was on the library party. They would preach specifically to university libraries to try to get them to order a full set of Prabhupada's books. And he recounts how sometimes the security would be like right behind him. You'd have to run up, down. So it was not easy, and it was actually dangerous to preach behind the Iron Curtain, but that's what Prabhupada wanted. So if you follow the instructions of your spiritual master, and especially when you get an order, I mean, we all have general instructions. Chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds a day, like Prabhupada said in that, and to follow the principles. These are general instructions. But if your spiritual master gives you a particular order, you should follow it. Even if it's just a suggestion, like in this case with Prabhupada and that temple president, you should follow it. But Prabhupada understood this. So in the beginning, we should have the mood of doing things as a matter of duty. We're not enjoying, we're not really even so surrendered, but do it out of a sense of duty. And then duty, if we continue like that, and of course we keep chanting, because the spiritual master is pleased, then the chanting becomes sweeter and that duty turns into ecstasy. Something that you didn't think you would want to do becomes ecstatic because of that surrendering factor. So, but in the beginning, at least, we should be in the mood of doing things out of a sense of duty. Whatever the spiritual master says, whatever the authorities give us, we do it. Even if in our heart, we're thinking, that doesn't match my psychophysical nature. But if everything has to match your psychophysical nature, then where's the surrender? Just like Arjuna. Arjuna was being asked to kill his relatives, his guru. Yes, he was a warrior, so Krishna was asking him to fight. But look at what he had to do. We're not being asked to do that. Nothing close to that. So the example I like to use is if you're very happy washing pots, but the temple president comes on and says, you've been reliable pot washer for the last 3 years. Now I want you to start going out with the Sankirtan devotees, and I want you to get trained up on book distribution. But I'm very happy washing pots. No, just do it. Or let's say you're a big-time book distributor, and the authorities decide there's a temple here, we need a temple president. I know you're doing well on book distribution, but I want you to come and take up administration. Do it. Do it. But we're always thinking that I only want to do what my mind says is okay. That doesn't work. Where is the surrender? Where is the surrender? Christian power is the surrendered. If we surrender, we become empowered. But if we're always calculating. So just on that last note, being on the mental platform, I've told this before, but it always stuck with me. I was having lunch with one of my godbrothers who was a guru in ISKCON. I'm not going to say the name. So he was saying that these, in essence, rascal disciples, wherever I go, they're always asking me for permission to leave this temple and go to that temple. But he said they don't understand. Wherever they go, the mind goes with them. So if you keep the same mentality, you're going to have the same problems. Because it's your mentality that's causing the problem. It's not the other devotees, it's not the GBC, it's your own mind. So if you don't allow your mind to be properly trained, then you're going to run into the same problems, whether in Los Angeles or New York or Mumbai or Bhubaneswar, wherever you go, you're going to run into the same problems because your mentality has not changed. All right, I think Michael had his hand up.
You were preaching in Jersey, but you said Jersey City, so yeah.
It was Jersey City, yeah. In those days, we used to, distribution man, because we didn't have all the books that we have now. Mainly, we would go out with Back to God magazine. So you would roll out the window, say a line, and then depending on how much money they gave you, mainly would give them a BTG. Because we were not only collecting just to pay the cost of the books like you do nowadays. Every single extra penny was going to Prabhupada's projects in Mumbai and Mayapur and Vrindavan. So we would always try to collect as much as possible. So if somebody gave you, a few dollars, you'd give them a Back to God magazine. Magazine was only 25 cents. But if they gave you a lot of money, like $10, $20, then you gave them a Bhagavad Gita, like that. But the idea was always to collect as much as possible so we could send money for Prabhupada's projects. So yes, I was on I don't know the name of the streets now, this was 1974, if I remember correctly, 73 or 74, I think 74, yeah. So it was a big intersection in Jersey City. I don't remember the name of the streets, but they would just, have a van and they would take individual devotees and drop them off different places. And you would have a little bag of lunch, which was khichdi, khichdi and breadsticks. Yamaraj used to make the breadsticks. They were wonderful. So you had a couple of breadsticks and a container with khichdi, and they would drop you off like at 9 in the morning and come back and get you at like 6 or 7 o'clock. What's that, Gopal Pran? Yeah. And if you were not a big-time distributor, like I was never a big-timer, so you'd be like ashamed to come back and report how many, books you did and how many dollars you collected, because the big-timers like Vishal Prabhu, he's now passed away, my godbrother Vishal, he was a big-timer. He would collect hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And then at the end of the year, there was a marathon, and the winner of the marathon got to take the entire Raj Bhog offering. And Vishal, if you've ever seen him, if you ever met him while he was with us, but he was kind of stout and really into prasadam. So it's very hard for anybody to beat Vishal. Okay, we're gone a little over time. Shri Nityananda Prabhu, Avirbhava Mahotsav ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.